Welcome to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I am Rebecca Powers. So happy to be with you again this week. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing great, Rebecca. Good to be with you.
Always. So we call Tom the professor here in the studio because he has done this for many, many years. You've also coached every sport under the sun. You have a real foresight, Tom. And one of the biggest things you say for anyone thinking about retirement, you must have an income. You must know that that income will last to the end of your life. In a recent study, they asked 10,000 Americans, what is your biggest fear? Their number one fear is running out of money. So they fear running out of money more than death itself. What does that say?
Death was number 2 for people 58 years of age and older.
Right.
It's amazing because income is the most important thing that you have. And when you retire and you walk out of that door of the place that you've worked and you've drawn your salary and your income from for so many years or so many months or how long you've worked there, that's the one thing, unless your name's on the building, that you're not going to have, is you're not going to have income. So all of the money that you've collected through all the years, it's great. We call that your lump sum because you've got a target. I mean, you know, guys go to Christmas parties and other parties and they get alone by themselves when the wives or the girlfriends are not looking, and they're bragging about how much they've got saved for retirement in their lump sum. But when it gets to retirement, it turns into the most important thing being your income and how much income that you have coming in. One lady told me recently, she was in my office a couple of weeks ago, and she said, you know, when she was 63, I believe it was, early 60s, and she said, I'm not worried about having enough money to go to Italy when I'm 85. I just want to make sure that I have a plan that when I turn 85, I've got enough money to go to the grocery store. I mean, and that's where people are, because that's the fear when all of the fears that are up now with inflation, with the market volatility, with the talk of a recession. I mean, you name it, the interest rates are higher if you're involved in debt in any way. And those are big fears that all impact your income.
So a lot of people don't even know how high their risk is. So that's one of the wonderful things that you do at your firm. No risk at all, no obligation, I should say, and no cost. You look at their true risk, and then you figure out for the rest of their life, what, to 100 or to 90, how they will have that monthly income. Let's talk about that income plan as one leg of what you do.
Well, the income plan is, I think it's more foundational than even a leg, okay?
Okay.
It's the foundation.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you're going to build a house for retirement that you're going to be able to live in and you're going to be comfortable in that house, then that house has to have a firm foundation of income. That's the bottom thing. That's the most important thing. You need income more than you need a big lump sum. Now, let me show you what I mean. A guy came to us about 5 years ago, and the poor guy had worked for this one company for 34 years. He was 64 years of age. He started working there when he was 30, and he got bumped out. He was planning on retiring at 67, and he got bumped out of his job.
Ouch.
3 years before he was planning on retiring, and he only had $120,000 saved for retirement at that point. Now, I ask in all my seminars, would you think he's in trouble?
Yes.
Well, let me tell you the further story, okay?
Okay.
This is 𝗺𝗺𝗺 here, the rest of the story. And if you're watching this, you probably remember who 𝗺𝗺𝗺 was. This guy had gotten bumped out of a job at a governmental agency.
Ah, so he had a pension.
A 34-year pension
See,
of $11,500 a month. I'll give you exact numbers. He had also, at the time that he had retired at 64 or gotten pushed out at 64, had been able to buy 3 houses in Southern California in addition to his own. And so he rented the other 3 houses at a net profit of about $6,000 a month. So add that. And then he was on the Cal State Public Employee Pension, PERS, and so therefore he had paid into Social Security, so he had a really big, about an 85% Social Security. So this guy's bringing home over $20,000 a month of income, not lump sum, okay? And his budget, and he had everything paid for. And so his budget was about less than $3,000. I think it was $2,800 a month. And I say this because he's one of our good clients. And so he had very little lump sum, but he had income. And he had guaranteed income that was going to be there because all of those things are guaranteed that are there. And so it's really important that you understand that the 401k is important, the 403b is important, the IRAs are important, the Roths are important, but what we maintain in working with our clients is those are great tools for the accumulation side of your retirement while you're trying to accumulate. When you're 25 years old, like you are, Rebecca,
I knew I loved you, Tom.
you need to put your money in the market and just let it grow.
Yeah.
Because you're adding to. And when you go through a downturn like we're going through right now, then if you're adding to in the accumulation phase, then you're buying cheaper. So buy more. You know, people come to me sometimes who are still working. They say, with the market down, should I still be contributing to my 401k? More so than ever. It's on sale right now because it's lower. But when you get into retirement and you're trying to stay in a 401k, or you're trying to stay in a 403b, or those accumulation vehicles, they were never meant to be an income vehicle. They were only meant to accumulate. Most 401ks are built for a 25-year-old who's got 40 years to grow until they retire. I recently evaluated a 401k. And by the way, one of the best services we offer you is if you call in to the number you see, 866-709-1462, you can call in and set up an appointment with one of our tremendous advisors, and you can bring your 401k options in, and it doesn't cost you anything except your time and the trip to our office. But you bring that into us, and we can sit down with you and we can show you how you can invest in your 401k to your risk level. And it's still an accumulation vehicle, but we then know how much time you're going to have until you retire, how much time you have to continue to save. But once you go out the door, it's no longer the lump sum that's in your 401k or your IRAs or your Roths or your rentals or all those things. It's how much guaranteed income do I have? How much, and is that going to last the rest of my life? We like to say there's 4 major things you need with income. It needs to be guaranteed. That's one real problem I have with the Monte Carlo model that most of the big box firms use.
Still use, yes.
It's still use it. It's put it in the market, and whatever you've got in the market, they started when the Monte Carlo model first came out, and they said you could take 4%. And then they said, well, maybe 3.2. Now this year they've come out and they've said, well, to really be safe and make sure you probably aren't going to run out of money, you need to take 2.8% per year out of your lump sum. So if you leave all of your money at risk and you don't really develop an income plan, then if you're following the model and you've got $1 million in your lump sum, you really can take $28,000 out this year. And that's about it. And if your $1 million is down to $800,000, then you can take, $22,400 if I'm doing the math really quick in my head.
Yeah.
And that's all you can take out if you're following the model. So what you need with income is 4 things. It needs to be guaranteed. It needs to be away from the fluctuation of the market where it's going up and down, where if you're taking out a true percentage, and by the way, at 2.8%, and if you're diminishing the volume that's in your big box firm or in your retirement lump sum, and let's say it goes down to 800 and you spend $100,000 on something else, then 2.8, it's of 700,000, and it keeps diminishing.
Right.
But your income needs to not only be guaranteed where it's not fluctuating, but it needs to be increasing, because when we build a retirement blueprint, the next thing we deal with is inflation. And for so many years, people have just looked at inflation and yawned at the word. Right. Because it's always floated at 2% or 3%. But that's not working too well right now, because it's at least 8% or 7% or 9%, depending on what figure comes out. So it needs to be guaranteed, increasing. And here's the big thing. It needs to last as long as you do. And one more thing, if you're married, it needs to last as long as the surviving spouse. So when we start to build a retirement blueprint for someone, and that's what we're offering to you, if you will call in and you will take the time to call in, or there's a QR code on the screen, and you can click that QR code. I know in the last few weeks we've really been slammed with phone calls at our program, and so if you go to the QR code, you can fill out all of the information to set yourself up, and you can see directly into our calendars, and you can set yourself up for a 1-hour appointment to come in and to meet with us, to bring your stuff. We'll let you know what to bring, and we can sit down with you and we can show you how you can really, in a knowledgeable way, you can convert your lump sum. That good job if you've been creating it, but now you need to turn that into an income flow for the rest of your life, and we can show you how to do that. And there's so many pitfalls along the way. It's like walking on the edge of a cliff, a really narrow cliff in some ways. You've got to do it the right way, and we're going to talk about that a little bit as we go through the show today, some of the different specific things that are involved in income. That's the whole show today. So stay with us, but pick up the phone and dial 866-709-1462, or click that QR code and fill out the form that you will see on there, and get on our calendar to bring your stuff in, because you've got a different income need than anybody else that's out there, and we can help you arrive at that. And the whole purpose is to give you confidence when you move into retirement, to know that your lump sum can be converted into a sustainable income, so that when you're 85, you won't have to worry about going to the grocery store.
Absolutely. And as Tom said, stay with us. We'll talk more about that and how you can retire right. We also want you to know that this is no cost, no obligation at all. Just 1 hour beginning conversation to see if we're a right fit. Stay with us. More right after this.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm Rebecca Powers. Of course, Tom created Mosley Wealth Management. We call him the professor because he has taught classes. He's really mentored advisors throughout the country. Pensions, Social Security, and rental properties. This is what we're going to talk about in this segment. These are 3 more wonderful places where you can receive income.
Wonderful is the exact word. I mean, pensions are great. In my seminars, and by the way, you see our name is on the bottom of the screen there, Mosley Wealth Management. If you want to know where we're having a seminar in your area, you can go to our website, and it's www.mosleywealthmanagement.com, and you can get on there and you can see for about 6 weeks out to, I think, everything in January and February that we're going to have throughout Southern California. You can find out when we're having either a 1-hour class on taxes or Social Security, or a 4-hour class, which is the best one. It's a master class for retirement, which covers almost all the major subjects of retirement. And all of those are complimentary. They're free. You can come to those without any charge. You just need to let us know you're coming so we can prepare the material for you. But when you come, and when people come to my workshops, I always ask them, how many of you have pensions? And it's generally, it runs about 50% of the people raise their hand and say, I've got a pension. And then, but I ask a follow-up question, how many of your children have pensions? And usually it's only 2 or 3, and they are either like 2 of my daughters are school teachers. They work in the school district. One's an assistant principal and the other one's a 5th grade teacher. And they have pensions. And if they work for the city or the county or the state, they have pensions, and very, very few. Even big companies like Boeing, you probably heard of them.
Yeah.
They used to have pensions. They've had 7 different kinds of pensions. And if you start now at Boeing, you get no pension.
Right.
So they've gone away. But if you do have a pension, now this is just for you if you have a pension. You need to run it through the grid of what real income in retirement is all about. Guaranteed, increasing, last as long as you do, last as long as your spouse if you're married. If you're single, you just the first 3. If you're married, the 4th one. So the good news about a pension, if you've got a pension of almost any kind, is it's guaranteed. And they even back those up by the government. There was recently a situation where the government actually paid some money into pensions because they were a little bit shaky, and so the government supported them. So they're guaranteed. Most individual private pensions are not increasing. In other words, the problem with them is if you have that lump sum opportunity, and then you have X amount of dollars per year coming out. And most of those, that money that comes out, if it's $4,500 when you're 65, it's $45 when you're 70, it's $45 when you're 75, it's $45 when you're 95 if you live that long. So it doesn't account for inflation. And as I said in the first segment, nobody knew what that was until recently. But you've got to be careful to make sure, is my pension, is it indexed for inflation? Does it have a COLA, not a Coca-Cola, but a cost of living adjustment? And it either does or it doesn't. Even the public pensions right now have a 2% cost of living adjustment, which is not staying up. By the way, the Monte Carlo model that's used by so many big boxes, listen to this. It's banked on averaging 6% gain per year in your investments. How's that working this year?
Not happening lately.
It's banked on 3% inflation. How's that working?
Definitely not.
Okay. And it's banked on taking 4, no 3.2, no 2.8% per year out of it. So if you've got a pension, that's good. It's flat at least, but it's not indexed for inflation. You need to be careful. And when you're choosing the pension option, if you are married, don't forget that last 4th thing on retirement. Guaranteed, increasing, last as long as you do, but last as long as your spouse does. You get less money by taking it that way, but if you are the one that goes first and you take only the option in your name or only 50% of that,
that's all they'll get.
Your spouse will only get 50% or nothing. Trust me, I really try to persuade people, particularly if the man has the pension and the wife is the one who's likely to be left, because the normal man marries a lady who's 2 or 3 years younger than he is. And men, we pass away 5 to 7 years sooner on the age chart, faster than ladies. So ladies, if you're married and you're listening to this, there's probably a period of 8 to 10 years if your whole situation is normal, and nobody's normal. But at the whole situation overall, there's an 80% chance that if you're married at 65 and you're a male, you will die married. An 80% chance, exact number, that if you're female and you're married at 65, that you will die single. So it's really important, ladies, that you make sure you're taken care of, because in most cases, if the plane crashes, the financial plane crashes in the last few years of life, it's going to be the lady who's still piloting the plane. So pensions are important. Social Securities are important too. How you take your Social Security. A lot of people, one guy came in one time and he said, I'm 62. My brother Bubba, the plumber, told me to go down and take my Social Security because you never know how long those people are going to pay Social Security. Well, guess what? He was making $125,000 a year. So you can only make $19,000, $20,000 a year if you're under your full retirement age, which is 66 or 67. So you got to be careful the way you take it. You also need to take it if there's 2 of you. If you're married, one of you's higher, one of you's lower. The higher's the breadwinner, the lower's the non-breadwinner. When one of you passes away, the non-breadwinner goes away. the breadwinner, Social Security, the higher Social Security
you get to keep.
Stays.
That's
so
good.
it's all the more reason, if possible, in working and building a financial plan, that you allow that Social Security that's the higher to continue to grow as long as you can. Even if you have to live off of your IRA, your 401k, your lump sum for a while, let that grow, because when one of you does pass away, the lower Social Security is going to be the one that goes away. The higher Social Security is the one that stays. Now, rentals, I'm one of those really weird investment advisors who doesn't tell you sell all your rental property and bring your money to me and let me invest it. I actually have rentals, but I've had them for a while and I'm set with them. Starting a new business, in retirement, of going out and buying rentals, I've seen it fail more than succeed.
Really?
But if you've got rentals, you'll know when to sell them. When you either start pulling your hair out over them, okay, and you say, I just want to go, I want to travel, I want to enjoy my retirement, I don't want to be stayed and tied here. Or, like in my situation, if I pass away before my wife will sell those rentals very quickly because she doesn't want to deal with them. But to me, I've got it in my pattern, I've got it in my systems, I'm able to deal with them. All of those, your pension with some peculiarities, your Social Security with some ways to take it and ways not to take it. Your rentals are great sources of income. Now, what you need to do is let us help you tie all of those together with your lump sum to determine how much you need for your income. And that's the first thing we do with you when you come in to get a retirement blueprint. Remember, income is the foundation. It's why we're talking about it in this show. But you need to have guaranteed increasing income that lasts as long as you do and lasts as long as your spouse does if you predecease her and go. So please give us a call, 866-709-1462. Put your phone up to that QR code and register for an appointment. Come in and meet with us and we'll help you, because your income needs are different than anyone else's that's listening to me right now.
Absolutely, and there's no obligation whatsoever. There's the number again. As Tom said, you can do the QR code. It'll take you right to our schedule. Make sure that you have your calendar ready to get an appointment, and we'll be right back more with Right on the Money and Tom Mosley right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
All right, welcome back to Right on the Money. We have been talking about, all of today is about income. It is the foundation of what you will need to retire comfortably and not give yourself a pay decrease, which happens to a lot of people. Let's talk about annuities, Tom. You know, some people say, oh, my friend at work said annuities are bad. That is a silly thing to say because they're all different. Some annuities you use, some you do not touch. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. By the way, I want to apologize for Rebecca using a four-letter word on the air because a lot of you have come to see annuities as a really, really bad word. You may want to get the small children and those who can't emotionally take strong things out of the room. I do want to address the issue of annuities, and I want to say something right off the bat. Not everybody needs an annuity.
Okay.
The gentleman I mentioned earlier who came to me and he's got $11,500 coming in a pension, and he's got $6,000 coming in rental units, and he's got
he's
Social
good.
Security. He doesn't need an annuity, and that's one of the issues that's bad about annuities, because a lot of guys who only have their insurance license, and an annuity is an insurance product where a good thing, you pass the risk of something on to the insurance company. A lot of guys only have their insurance license, so they never saw an annuity they didn't like.
Gotcha.
I mean, they want to put, if you've got, one lady came in about 6 years ago. She had $306,000. Now, this is criminal, I think. And a guy had written her an annuity for $300,000. And so she only had $6,000 of money left over. Yes, it's a bad thing in those kind of situations. But if you're looking, if you've got a portfolio that's a good sized portfolio, and you want to guarantee your income, you want to take it out of the market, because a lot of people leave it in the market, it just goes up and down. And if you're really following the Monte Carlo model, when it goes down, you take out less money.
Right.
And then you don't assign more money coming out for inflation. And so there are a lot of problems with that if you're just leaving it in the market. And how's that work for you this year?
Right.
It's usually way, way down, and you're concerned. And the biggest issue, Rebecca, is they don't have their income guaranteed. What an annuity, and I'm not talking about the variable annuities. Let me put that to rest really quickly. A variable annuity might have 4.5% fees. I don't like the variable annuities. Fixed annuities are okay. They're like a CD on steroids. They'll pay you a really good amount. But particularly a fixed indexed annuity. It's fixed in that you're not going to lose your principal. When the market goes down, you don't lose your principal. The index that it's tied to, when it grows, you get part of the growth. And it works that way as you're building the annuity, and it works that way as you're drawing your income. So you've passed, it's guaranteed. And it's guaranteed increasing income for as long as you live, and if you set it up the right way, for as long as your spouse lives, exactly the 4 criteria of setting up good income for retirement. Look, if maybe you're open to maybe looking at another product that some people have just said, I hate them, I'm going to put them out, I'm not going to offer it to my clients. What a tragedy if that's what works best for you. You need to give it a good look and say, what possibly could an annuity do for me with a portion, a small portion of my retirement savings to guarantee my income so that it's increasing for the rest of my life, and it lasts as long as I do, and then when I'm gone, it will last as long as my spouse lives. You need to call us. If you're not certain that you've got the income you need, it's going to create a shadow over your entire retirement. 866-709-1462.
All right, already out of time. Thank you so much, Tom, and thank you again at home. We hope to see you again next time.